Today's guest is one of many fighting to make Minnesota a legal ID state. Joey Jardine, welcome to the program.
Thank you very much.
Now, you and your group are fighting to really make Minnesota or require Minnesotans to have a legal ID at the polls. Could you just kind of talk about what you guys are doing?
Well, we believe that this is an integrity issue, and we would like to make sure that every vote that is cast is a legal, legitimate vote. And we believe that the one and only way to do that is through identification. We believe you should be able to prove who you are when you come in to vote.
Now, are you really pushing for legislators to pass legislation to make this an amendment, or are you just looking for them to just pass legislation and try to get it through the governor?
Well, the governor vetoed this last year. And so this year, there were enough people voting for it. It is an amendment. It will be on the ballot this fall. So our job and our goal is to make sure that this gets across the finish line.
Now, is there a real history of voter fraud in Minnesota, enough to make this a big issue for people to vote on?
It is a big issue. I mean, for every person who illegally casts a vote, one legitimate vote is disenfranchised, and I think that that's a problem. And here's an easy way to relate this. If you have a 5-year-old child who's in a grocery store and your child goes by and picks up a nickel piece of candy, that's not okay. So it doesn't matter what the size of the problem is. There's right and there's wrong. This is about integrity. Do we have a lot of fraud in Minnesota? Yes, we do. There is even our current Secretary of State, Mark Ritchie. If you go on YouTube and put Mark Ritchie's name in and voter fraud issues, you will see him admitting to the fraud that has taken place in Minnesota. And the people who have been prosecuted are from the 2008 election. The 2010 elections have not even begun to be prosecuted yet. So nobody really knows how big this problem is. It's big.
Now, there are obviously some sides that are pushing back against this. Who are the people really opposed to this type of legislation?
You know, I don't know why people should be opposed to it. There are. I know that the League of Women Voters is not for this. I believe that there are some union organizations that are not for this, which is kind of funny because if you go vote in a union election, you do need to show your ID in order to vote.
Now, and also, what are their rationale behind opposing legislation like this?
You know, there are groups out there, League of Women Voters being one of them, that says that this disenfranchises the poor, the old, the disabled, minorities. We can't find any evidence of that whatsoever, so I'm not really sure where they're getting their idea. And perfect example. You need IDs for so many things. I, in fact, went down to Dorothy Day Center, which is a center down in St. Paul near the Excel that serves meals to hundreds of people daily. I went in and asked for a meal. My first question was, do you have an ID? And I said no. Then they asked if I had a birth certificate. I said no. And then I thought if I waited there long enough, then I might be able to get a meal. Clearly that was not the case. I was told that I could not be helped and there was no reason for me to stay. So I thought that that was very interesting. The reality is an ID does so much for you. It gives you a hand up. It allows you meals at a homeless shelter. It allows you medical attention when you need it. If you need a hand up from government, it allows you that. So I'm really not sure why somebody would say that this is a bad idea and that there are a lot of people who don't have IDs. That is not true. Clearly not true.
Would this ID take the place of, let's say, a driver's license or anything like that? Or could you use this identification if the voters do pass this amendment in other situations?
Well, clearly. I mean, obviously you could use it if you went to the hospital. You know, if you went to the VA, you need an ID. I think there isn't anything specific to what this identification would look like, whether it's a driver's license or not. I mean, you can buy a state-issued ID that's not for driving, but it just, you know, it says you are who you are. So I don't know what all forms will be acceptable at the polls. All we want to do is make sure that you can prove who you are. when you go to vote. And I think that that's critical to fair and honest elections.
Now, when you tour around Minnesota with this campaign, what is the reception like?
Well, we have just been going to some different conventions, and the Republican conventions were this last weekend. Overwhelming support in the Republican conventions that we went to. And so I think that that's a really good thing. We are going, the Independence Party's convention is coming up this summer. We're going to try to get to their state convention. We are more than happy to take this message anywhere, to any conventions, any groups of people who would like to talk about this. In fact, we just had a meeting with the local representative here, and one of our thoughts were it would be great for Governor Ritchie and our past Secretary of State, Mary Kiffmeyer, to do a road tour at college campuses. We thought that would be a wonderful way to talk about this issue as far as two people who are involved with elections in Minnesota. And Mary Kiffmeyer is the representative who wrote the bill in the House.
Now, Dan Severson ran 2 years ago on kind of a voter ID platform, and Mark Ritchie was able to gain re-election. Does that cause for any concerns in this upcoming, when people go and vote on this upcoming amendment?
I guess I'm not exactly sure what you mean.
Well, when Dan Severson ran in 2010, he ran on a very pro-voter identification platform where he wanted to make it legal. And he was unsuccessful in gaining election. Does that cause any concern that this amendment this time around may be defeated?
No, I don't think so at all. I mean, obviously, Ritchie had a better campaign. I mean, you know, he won, though there's a reason why he won. I don't think that it matters. I mean, the reality is this is an election about integrity. It's not about sides. And that's what people need to focus on. I think, you know, how Severson's campaign was, who knows? I don't know how he reached out to people. Voter ID was one of the things that he talked about. He clearly believes in integrity in voting, and I think that that's a good thing.
Now, we have part of your campaign right here. I was wondering if you could just give us a little sneak peek of some of the things Minnesotans might be seeing anytime soon, and if you could explain a little bit of this.
Well, we are hoping to purchase billboards across Minnesota. Simple message, vote yes, with the voter ID for men, FORMN, and driving people to our website with the idea that if you go to the website and you see why you should vote yes, whether that happens or not, I mean, that's what we're hoping. But we just believe it's a very simple message. It's vote yes. Vote yes, vote yes.
And I see there's multiple people you are picturing here. Is there any age group or any people in specific that you're targeting with this campaign?
We are targeting every citizen of Minnesota.
Pretty straightforward enough.
Yeah.
And is there anything else that's unique about this campaign that maybe you would like our audience to know about?
Well, this is the only issue that we are focusing on. I think there are other groups that are probably supporting this or not supporting it, whatever the case may be. This is the one and only issue that we care about as far as the ballot this fall that this group is focusing on. So if a person contributes to voter ID for men, their money will be going to do everything it can to pass this one and only issue.
Well, I want to thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it today.
Yeah, thank you so much.
And coming up next, we'll take a look at the race for the White House.